It is another episode of Business Digest. We give a big thanks to our viewers for joining us today. Now, based on the events that have been carried out recently and that are also going on here in Kigali, such as GSMA Mobile and Expo Rwanda, we have a lot to explore on today's show. Sponsored by Bank of Kigali and brought to you by Rwanda Television, welcome to Business Digest. Now, mobile technologies and services have generated 8.6% of GDP in the sub-Saharan Africa and is expected to generate 9.1% of GDP by 2023. Up next, we'll be discussing more on these mobile technologies and services and also future mobile payments with the Director of Mobile for Development in Africa. Take a look. All right, we're now going to speak to Mr. Jerry Rasugu, the Director of GSMA Mobile for Development. He's going to give us a brief introduction and give us some information on what GSMA Mobile for Development really is all about. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview with us.
Thank you.
Now, this firm has just celebrated 10 years anniversary, a 10-year anniversary. Can you brief us a little bit on the achievements that you have made over these years?
Okay, thanks for that. So the GSMA Mobile for Development workstream is really a workstream within the broader GSMA. So GSMA as an organization has been around for 30 years. 10 years ago, the Mobile for Development workstream was considered because we really believe that digital innovations will help reduce inequalities. And because of this, we see a great opportunity in the mobile sector and our members who are the mobile industry and other ecosystem players to really play a key role in being able to reduce these inequalities. And with that, we have a number of projects and engagements across various stakeholders to help bridge those inequalities.
Right, so the organization carries out what we call seed funding project. What are the highlights of these seed funding projects?
So the Mobile for Development workstream, once again, is donor funded, largely donor funded. And due to this support that we get, we are able to engage a number of stakeholders on helping to reduce some of these inequalities. So if I may give you an example, one of the areas that we are focusing on now is to do with the disabilities. We are looking at the assistive tech program as an initiative to help bridge the gap where people with disabilities feel disenfranchised or are disenfranchised because they are not able to access mobile services in the way others are able to. But specifically, some of the work that we've been able to do in Mobile for Development is also around closing the gender gap. So a Connected Women program was really the first ones to highlight the gap that exists in as far as mobile ownership, mobile money, or mobile internet is concerned, which really highlighted that between men and women, the fact that women are less likely to either own a mobile phone or use mobile internet or use mobile money is actually acute. And with that, we've been working with our members.
Do you have any, sorry to cut you short, do you have any statistical numbers that prove that women are less likely to own mobile phones and be able to use internet?
Yeah, I mean, a good example is here in Rwanda. Specifically, what our data shows is in Rwanda, women are 34% compared to men. Women are 34% less likely to use mobile internet as compared to men. And because of that, there are concerted efforts that are being put in place to help reduce that gap and bring women to the same scale as men, if not better. Some of the initiatives that we have been able to implement in this area is helping mobile operators through what we call our Mobile Internet Skills Training Toolkit, which is a module that seeks to improve and increase digital literacy. Here in Rwanda, for instance, yesterday we launched the We Care campaign, which brought together mobile operators, MTN and Airtel, RURA and the Ministry of ICT and Innovation in the program. But at the end of the day, the end users are getting equipped on how to use the internet. So that's another way that we're able to bridge this.
Still on that subject on supporting the mobile for development, giving support. In Rwanda, we have a wide range and a variety of startups here in Rwanda. How can these Rwandan startups get involved with your programs, and how can they get support from mobile for development?
Yeah, so again, your question is spot on, because again, this is an area that we really focus on. So our ecosystem accelerator program seeks to support startups that are looking to scale their digital services. So in this way, and again through the funding that we receive from DFID, we're able to provide funding, grant funding, a matching grant to startups.
Thank you so much for sharing this information with us and taking the time to have this interview with Rwanda TV. Now join me as we welcome our guest for this interview, Mr. Garang Shah, the Senior and Vice President for Product Management, Digital Payments and Land for Middle East and Africa. Welcome, sir, to Business Digest.
Thank you. It is my pleasure.
Right. So it is your first time attending GSMA event here in Rwanda?
First time for me, but MasterCard has been sponsoring this event for a couple of years now. And I'm really proud to be associated with the event.
What are your personal expectations from this event?
See, when it comes to, we are on a journey on World Beyond Cash, and we know that we can't do this journey alone, and hence we have to take this journey with all our partners, whether banks, mobile operators, governments, merchants, fintechs, everyone in the ecosystem. And a great part of being in this place is everyone has the same goal, which is a world beyond cash. Everyone has the same goal. And we are here just to make sure that we are aligned with all our partners and stakeholders so that we move on this journey together. It would be much faster for us to get to our goal, and it would be much smoother.
Now, according to the information that I have, MasterCard is carrying out activities and involving itself basically when it comes to financial inclusion. And then there are labs that are being set up in Nairobi.
Yes.
Yes. Can you talk to us a little bit on this lab and what they have to do with financial inclusion?
Yeah. So one of the biggest philosophical change that we had in the decade was, if we have to solve for the real problems in a market, we have to be in the market to solve for it. We can't just bring some global solutions into a market and tweak it to meet their needs. And with that thought in mind, 5 years back, along with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we set up a dedicated financial inclusion research center or labs in Nairobi, Kenya. With a very clear goal of how do we create a sustainable solutions which is commercially viable and will drive an end-to-end financial inclusion for the needs in Africa. And with that ambition in mind, we really didn't think about incremental steps. We said we need to really look at some of the big needs and the big segments that we are targeting. And we need to look at the value story end to end, and how do we solve for the pain points within that. And 3 of the segments that we really prioritized at that point of time, where we are seeing today the real solution which is live in the market and impacting millions of consumers. One was around the farmers, because Africa is a big agri economy, and we need to solve for the pain points of farmers. For them, ability to get the information in the right time, like weather information, for them to get the right inputs like fertilizers, various other things on the right time at right prices, and for them to ability to sell their goods at the right price and figure out what's the right value of their produce. And our MasterCard Farmer Network looks at farmer in the center and looks at the needs and solve for both their sales and purchase journey, and really digitizes it. and makes the life easy for them.
Speaking of farmers, we have an agricultural sector here in Rwanda that we are trying to grow as well. How can they be involved in these kind of programs?
No, absolutely. So while we created this solution and launched in a couple of markets with a huge success, now we are taking the next step where we want to really take it out to almost every single market that we operate in, where the needs are similar. And like you rightly said, the needs of probably a farmer in Rwanda is not going to be too different from a farmer in Tanzania or Uganda, right? And that's where our solutions are working. Maybe in this market, the vertical of agri is slightly different than in Tanzania or Uganda, but the needs are going to be the same, and hence we see a direct applicability of that platform to be deployed here. The only thing that we are now looking for are the right set of partners to roll that solution out with, because we always take a partnership approach when we want to roll the solution out in a market.
Due to interest of time, we will have to end this interview, but thank you so much for the information you've shared with us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. So you're still watching Business Digest. We still have more to come. Do stay with us. The Private Sector Federation has upgraded the current expo grounds to create more space for exhibitors as the 22nd Rwanda International Trade Fair goes on. Over the last 20 years, the annual trade fair has grown by leaps and bounds, becoming a strategic platform through the major businesses from around the world have penetrated the Rwandan market, thanks to efforts made by the private sector to promote the event beyond Rwandan borders, encouraging foreign businesses to come and showcase their products. Business Digest got to speak to a few of the expo exhibitors to give us the experience on the ongoing trade fair. Organized by the Private Sector Federation and in partnership with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, this expo is expected to attract about 500 exhibitors both locally and internationally. Let us have a quick look at the expo to see some of the products and services that are being showcased. Come with me.
It is a big market. It's a big market. Africa we come Africa because Africa people very difficult to come Egypt. That's why we're coming and we show the people what I have in Egypt, and that's it. We buy.
Thank you.
Right now it's our first day today, and then I think to be good according to the exhibitors. There are so many exhibitors they have this year, and then I think to be better in the next few days.
And on today's segment, we'll be looking at the revenue performance results for the fiscal year 2018 and 2019. The revenue collection in fiscal year 2018 and 2019 was 1,421.7 billion Rwandan francs compared to a target of 1,392.1 billion Rwandan francs, which represents an achievement of 102.1%, translating to Rwandan francs 29.6 billion, excess of the target. The tax revenue collection for fiscal year 2018 and 2019 was 1,398.8 billion Rwandan francs, while the target was 1,373.1 billion Rwandan francs, an excess of 25.7 billion Rwandan francs above the target, compared to 1,234.1 billion Rwandan francs collected in fiscal year 2016 and 2017. Additional revenue 164.7 billion Rwandan francs was collected. Non-tax revenue collected by Rwanda Revenue Authority amounted to 22.9 billion Rwandan francs compared to the target of 19 billion Rwandan francs, performing at 120.2% compared to fiscal year 2017 and 2018. It increased by 26%. We have come to the end of today's show, but don't forget that this show airs every Tuesday at 9 p.m. only on Rwanda Television. My name is Dana Iriza, and I will see you all next week.